Yeah, no, I mean, for me, I will say, I have a couple other things in my life: reality shows, documentaries. That's it.
I know you're a big Bravo fan.
Bravo. Are you a big Bravo fan?
My wife's getting me into that.
Okay, yeah. What has she
Little
got
bit
you?
of, Vanderpump Rules.
Vanderpump Rules.
It's a slippery slope.
Oh,
man.
Have
What's
you?
the one with the yachts? Below Deck.
Below Deck?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I like to watch those every now and then.
Oh yeah. My wife has got me into those. Yeah, that's what they all say. It's okay, Diego.
Yeah.
This is a safe space.
Safe space,
But we
but
can admit that reality shows. But it plays a similar role for me that like sports do, where I'm like, for that hour, all I'm thinking about is those
the drama,
the goat cheese balls, at Sir, and is Jack's gonna fly off the handle?
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about graphic design. 3, 2, 1. Kevin.
What's up?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, sorry, nothing.
How's that fresh coffee?
It's good.
We just got a coffee machine in the building here
inaugural
today.
pot.
Wow, the
Nice.
first run. And quality? Did it live up
Pretty
to
good.
all the hype?
Yeah, pretty good.
Is that a $600 cup of coffee, you know?
No, but if you stack a bunch of $1 cups up over time,
Where are you getting $1 cups of coffee around here in Greenpoint,
I
Brooklyn?
think probably right here.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I could
Yeah,
break
yeah.
down the math
Okay.
on that bag.
Yeah. Kevin is our new CFO. But Kevin, we have a special guest in the building today.
special.
A very, very special guest, multidisciplinary creative director by way of Portland, by way of Miami, by way of Ecuador, currently working at a little company called Nike as a senior global design director who's driven by a love of design, a passion for teamwork, and a dedication for fostering vibrant communities. Welcome to the show, my friend Diego Guevara.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, buddy.
You just need the little results may vary.
Yeah.
Contact your doctor if he fucks up. Type of thing.
Well, it's 10:24 a.m., which is, I think, a record for us as far as early morning podcasts. Are you a morning person?
I'm a night guy.
night
For
owl.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm a night guy. But no, thank you. Thank you for having me. I know we've chatted about this for a long time. It's a long time in the making. So finally.
It's an honor.
Finally.
We took it from the DMs to the
Wow.
boardroom.
Yes.
You love to see it.
We're here.
You're here with your team on a cultural
Yep.
trip to soak in your culture, go to some stores, go to some, just live in the community.
Get inspired.
Get inspired.
Yeah.
go
We
to
try to do that. We
museums,
try to like go out, see the world,
see the world.
and bring that back to HQ so that it helps the teams, it helps everyone, helps the culture, and then everyone gets inspiration.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing this? Is this something that's new?
Since I started, I've been at Nike 9 years now.
Wow. Okay.
So it becomes a thing.
Yeah. Can Kevin and I join the team just for the week? You know,
Hey.
just be a part of this. We don't have any work.
We can
to
go watch
do.
the Knicks tomorrow.
I'm good
Would.
actually. I take it back. But no, I think that's really awesome and certainly something for all teams. In-house, out-house.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
You have
Again,
to.
and also you get inspired, but also you spend quality time with each other. I imagine
Yes.
that's a big part of it, right?
Yes. One of the things that truly bonds a team is to get outside of the office.
Yeah.
That's when you truly get to talk about like not just projects, but life and
Yeah.
and everything. Knicks, whatever comes up. So it's
Yeah.
a great bonding experience with teams. I know the keeps are gonna keep coming up.
No,
every topic.
No, yeah. Nothing bonds people together like trauma.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So, go watch a Knick game and you'll become,
Yeah.
very, very close very
Yeah.
quickly. But no, I agree with that. I think it's really important. And when I was on an in-house team in my career, we would go skiing, we would go, just rent a house. We would do things that sort of friends would do.
Right.
And things that are not just, sort of work things. And I always felt that those things really made us close.
Yeah, I mean, you still do that.
Yeah, we do it
You
here,
see that?
and I've continued that tradition along. But and I think you bond not
Right.
necessarily by going to meetings and talking about design
Yeah,
all day.
yeah.
It's about sort of stepping outside.
It helps a lot.
Yeah. You grew up in Ecuador.
Yes.
So, what was the design scene like in Ecuador, and when did you discover it?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I moved when I was 16 years old. So
Yeah.
my whole life I thought and I knew that I wanted to be an architect.
Okay.
So I knew a lot of architects. My parents knew a lot of architects. So that was my thing. I grew up convinced that that's what I wanted. At 16 years old, you don't have much of a say. So, you just get the notice from your parents like, oh, we're moving. So we're dropping everything here, selling everything. We're moving to a different country.
Wow.
And it's not until probably college that I got into design. And I said, you know what, maybe this is something that I can do, because architecture was just too boring for me.
Yeah.
I was like, after the second semester, I was like, nope.
Did you go to school originally for architecture?
Yes.
Okay.
2 semesters.
Nice.
2 semesters.
That was enough. You were like, these
Yeah.
buildings
Nope.
and these
Nope.
plans.
Yeah, and I always talk about that. I'll see like Calatrava and Gary and all these things.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. But then you go to architecture school and it's like the outlet needs to go 2 centimeters to the left. And you're like, no, that was not me. I couldn't do that.
Have you ever heard of brand architecture?
Yeah. So,
Kevin, it's classic.
so yeah, that was a big shift. And luckily my parents were supportive of
Nice.
that. And they were like, yeah, do what feels right. And that's when I discovered design, and just switched.
Do you switch majors?
Yeah.
And then you started studying design. Did I read that you lived with The Rock, or The Rock lived in your
Yeah,
building? What's
so,
the story there?
16 years old, I moved to Miami, and we were living in this apartment complex. We were on the second floor, I believe, second floor. On the third floor, there was this massive dude that you would always see, right? Like I was like, and this was like 96, 97. So he was still under Rocky.
Sure.
Name wasn't The Rock yet. He was part of
yeah.
at the cusp of his transition, I would say. Like
Okay.
he was getting there. And then I remember like we got to meet him, and I was like, wait a second, he's in WWE? And I started watching tapes. I was like, oh, that is him,
Wow.
right? That is The Rock. Met his wife and him. It was just both of them living at that time. They were amazing, like extremely nice. He became really good friends with my mom. Like he'll get stuff from fans and stuff and tell my mom, do you want it? And my mom's like, yeah, I'll take it.
Whoa.
So he'll have stuff from The Rock. We'll send to The Rock in our house. And then I remember one time also when he got his first bull tattoo.
Okay.
He came home with the whole thing. We're like, oh, what did you get? Because it was all the kids running around like, what did you get? What did you get? So he was like that tattoo. So that was his part of transition, and we were there for that. Fast forward, I'm like, yeah, 2 different paths. Like,
Yeah, he's had quite a
he's done
path.
okay. He's done okay. He's done okay.
He's done okay. Yeah, no, I guess 96, 97. This is like, very early on in his
Yeah,
wrestling
that's when he got
career, and
championship,
kind of
yeah.
when he was kind of popping off
Yeah.
as a WWE superstar.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty crazy. And he was just living in the building. He was just a big
Yeah,
guy,
just
just
chilling
kind
there,
of,
just chilling. Like my brother and I would see, like, for example, we were playing outside and we'll see his wife pull in with groceries. We're like, oh, you need help? And we'll just help him carry the groceries and stuff. So it was,
Help The Rock
it was,
carry
yeah,
the
it was great. And he was extremely humble, very nice, very open to people. It was not a superstar mentality. So it was a great experience.
That's incredible. Who lives on the second floor? Pitbull?
I have no idea. Like,
You're just living in this building with like Miami superstars, and
Miami
celebrities.
legends.
Yeah.
yeah, they've done well. I'm trying.
Did you watch wrestling as a kid? Or
Yes, when
Yeah.
I was a kid. When it was WWF, I think. Grew up with that, obviously, and then kind of like disconnected. That brought me back a bit. And yeah, that's.
you stay in touch? You ever, hit him
No,
up and be
no,
like,
we
"Hey,
saw
remember
him.
me,
We saw him
Diego?"
at an event many years ago, and we approached him, and he was kind of like, and then we told him, like, do you remember we lived in this building? He was like, oh yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was our moment.
Amazing. What a crazy life. That's, incredible. So design, you graduated from school, and then I read you started your own agency, and you were like,
Yes.
yeah. And so you were like, okay, I got this design thing, open up shop.
How hard could it be?
Yeah, how hard could it be? And then, but the first 2 clients you got were the NFL and the Armed Forces.
Yes.
Those are
Yes.
2 pretty fucking
Yeah.
massive
Yeah.
clients. How the
That's-
hell did that?
That's what gets you all cocky and like, I can do this.
Yeah.
So the way it happened was I had a kid very early on.
Okay.
So I went to school with a kid. Like I had a 1-year-old. So it changes everything for you.
Sure.
Right? It's like there's no partying, there's nothing. You're just driven to your career. It's like you have to put in the work. So as I was going through school, I got my design jobs. And I was already working on the field.
Sure.
So I wasn't waiting. I was kind of like working, and I worked my way up to like an art director role. I fought for it, and I told
Okay.
the owner of the agency, I was like, I've been putting the work, I've been busting my ass. Everybody else is doing the same thing. I think I deserve it. Again, very young in a way, naive and sort of like hungry for that world experience that pushed me. And the guy was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you are an art director now. So I graduated school with an art director degree in a small studio.
So you're working while you were in.
Yeah.
studies.
So
Okay, cool.
I got to work through pretty much my entire time of school years. And then I remember I had to fight the school a bit because, you have to do your internship.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do an internship because I'm already working.
Yeah, I'm already an art
And
director.
they're like, no, but you have to do the internship. So it took a bit of them to understand, like, what's the point of me quitting my job
Yeah.
to go do an internship to go back to my job later. So,
Yeah. Sounds like a downgrade for me.
anyway, again,
Yeah.
it was a very small studio, so it was not what you think. So it was just a bit of the other pride and sort of like doing what I was doing. So when we did that, my brother's the one that got me started, got me hooked into design.
Really?
He was
Older brother?
younger brother.
Younger brother.
He was 16 years old when he was playing with Photoshop, playing with flyers,
Cool.
album covers, and I was like, "What are you doing?" So he would show me that stuff. So as I decided not to go into architecture, he was the one that got me into design, and like he taught me some stuff, and I was like, "All right, cool." So I picked it up from there. So he was the one that actually got me into design. So I
Cool.
always say, like, if it wasn't for him, like, I don't know.
Amazing.
if I
Is
would
he
be
still a
here.
designer today?
He's still a designer. Yeah,
Amazing. Cool.
He's worked in in agency since he was 16 years old.
Wow.
actually.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's crazy story. So he got me into that. So we were both working. He was working in his own agency. I was working in my own agency. And, it's one of those moments, I think, that some of the clients get to like you. You create that relationship with the clients. And sometimes they'll tell you, like, I know you're doing all the work here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
why am I
yeah,
paying
yeah,
for
yeah,
all
yeah.
this when you're the one doing this?
Yeah, let's go to the
Um,
middleman. Yeah, cut the middleman
Exactly.
out of the way. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
we were young. We were kind of like, again, naive, like hungry. And they were kind of like, well, if you ever decide to open your own studio,
Yeah, wink, wink, nod,
we'll
nod.
come to you.
Mm.
So at that point, we were like, how hard could it be? Like, we've been doing this for a while. We could do it. We opened a studio. And we did it. We opened a studio, and our first clients were the NFL and the Armed Forces.
Were they clients of that previous agency?
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. This is apologies. We'll bleep the names.
Yeah.
What was the name of the agency that you started?
It was Trio.
Trio.
Because it was three of us, three brothers.
Okay.
And trio is three in Spanish. My younger brother and I were the designers, and my third brother was who was studying marketing. So we were like, "Fuck it, you're part of it."
Got it. So
Yeah.
it's a family band.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We were always close like that. So it was
Oh,
like, if we
cool.
do it together.
Amazing.
So we'll have the work that we did for the NFL and Armed Forces were like publications. So we worked with the publishing houses. So we did all of their magazines for like Hall of Fame inductions,
Nice.
Purple Heart magazine, Armed Forces magazines that you never even knew existed, but we were just like working on those.
Cool.
And you had the masthead of like creative director, whatever, like marketing, founder, like the whole family was there.
Nice. Family. I
Like,
didn't-
fuck it, we own
we
this.
got this.
Yeah.
And how long did that run for?
About 2 years, I would say, until 2008. 2008, we had the big housing crash recession. And, first thing that goes or gets cut is budget. So it was one of those like, guys, I don't think we're going to be able to give you more work. So it got to the point that we saw where things were going. And we said, well, either we sink with the ship or we split everything 50-50, because at the time it was just my brother and I, because we had some partners and some people that we had hired that were like, dude, sorry. So we split everything 50-50, picked it up and said, okay, that's it. It's done.
Wow.
And we went back to agencies. So
Yeah.
we went back, applied for agencies, and went back to the agency world.
Cool. And how long did you stay in the agency world? Kind of.
Oh, I jumped a lot. In Miami, back in the day, back when I was there was not a lot of agencies. Like I think the biggest one at that point was like Crispin Porter.
I was going to say Crispin Porter, but Gussie, when I was
Yeah.
at Coke, we worked with them, and I went
Yeah.
to their Miami office, and it was
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was
They were
great.
definitely like the shop of
Yes,
Miami.
it was the biggest one.
Mhm.
But I made a decision early on in my career of not working for big agencies.
Okay.
One, because I wanted to explore what else was out there, and I wanted to be pretty nimble and move around, and also because I have like family. So I had friends of mine. Actually, I had friends of mine that were like art directors and creative directors at Crispin, like would call me like, "Hey, come work with us." Like the invitation was there. But at the same time, I would get calls from them on like a Friday night, like at 10, 11 p.m. Like, "Oh, we're still
Yeah.
at the office. Come over." I was like, "No, dude. No." Like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm in a different sort of like lane right now. I have kids. I have a kid. I have a family. So that didn't do. But I moved around a lot.
Okay.
So I would do always smaller studios, smaller agencies. And what that allowed me to do was work on my daytime job and then at the same time work on my personal
I was going to
projects.
ask, when did you start doing personal projects?
2000. Oh, it's a blur now. I'm that old. 2000. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably right around the time when I moved back
Got
to
it.
Miami.
And what were some of those personal projects? Because I want to talk about the Inter Miami one. But,
Yeah.
well, before that, what kind of stuff were you doing?
I was learning stuff. I was actually talking to someone about this yesterday. There was a moment where like the Canon released the Mark II camera and
Okay.
everyone bought it because you
Yeah,
can do
yeah.
video. You can be a filmmaker now. So I got a camera. So we started doing photography, and I was like, I've always have a passion for photography and like videography. So I learned how to do a bit of photography, and then I started doing like baby photo shoots because I had a baby at that time. So I was like, oh, I'll do the photos myself. Why am I going to pay someone? So I did it, posted, and people were like, oh, that's great. And I was like, okay, wait a second. I can charge for this. So I started doing that. I started doing weddings because the next step after that,
course,
people
yeah.
were
Once
like,
you do
well, I have
babies,
a
you gotta
wedding.
go
Yeah.
to
Like,
weddings.
well, I have a
Yeah,
wedding,
yeah,
you know, like, do you know anyone? I was like, well, I have a camera. I can do that.
Yeah.
So we did that. And it was just not for fun because you don't have fun when you're filming a wedding, but it was just to learn, right? To get your shit together and like learn like behind the scenes and how it's made, how you edit, how you tell a story. In hindsight, when you look back,
Yeah.
things that help you, understand a bit of like life and design.
Yeah.
So yeah, moved a lot, and some of the projects that allow me that sort of like commitment to the smaller studio were kind of like that, open. And then I started getting into design. Then I started writing.
Okay.
Shout out to Armin because
Yeah.
he did inspire me a lot to like, at that time we had blogs.
Yeah, you were an early blogger in the
Yes,
blogger days.
yes.
Yeah. So when did you start reading Brand New and going to Brand New conference?
I think I went to the first one. I was always following Brand New.
Wow.
I followed it as a guide, honestly, when I started my career, and to this day, it's like a Bible.
Yeah.
It's like you go in there, not only to see the work,
Sure.
but to see how agencies and studios think, how they present their work, but at the same time, the feedback that they get, and
Yeah.
then without having your sort of like skin in the game, you're building that tough skin. You're like, okay, this comes with the game. It doesn't matter how great the project is, people will still hate it.
Yeah.
People will still talk shit about it. So.
especially of
Yeah,
course.
you
Brand New.
know.
Do you read all the comments? Or
I love reading comments. Like, are you kidding me?
You have a burner?
Yeah, I was
You
gonna
ever
say,
mix it up?
No, I don't.
Do you write any comments?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I've never had a burner, and in fact, I've always been very honest and very like straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, listen, those comments, that comment section can get wildly, wilding. People, they have strong opinions and they're not afraid to say them.
Yes.
But no, I think for a generation of designers, and I'll put myself in this, like, yeah, those early blogs and Brand New, and even
Brand
some
New.
of Under Consideration and Speak Now and some of these other parts of the Brand New universe, not just like the branding section, we're a big part of our sort of coming of age of design and really understanding.
Learn a lot.
Yeah, and I credit a ton of that. And have you had work on Brand New?
Yes.
Yeah.
My first project was the Miami one.
Okay. So I want to talk about the Miami project because that's the first time I ever was introduced to your work. And that was sort of, I think it was 2014.
Yeah, 2014.
And as the story goes, Miami was getting a football club.
Yes.
And it was announced to the world that this was happening. David Beckham was involved.
Big
And but they didn't have a name, they didn't have an identity, and a young designer by the name of Diego gets an idea to create the identity, the branding, name the club, do the jerseys, and next thing you know, it's wildfire all around the internet. Everyone's talking about a complex, brand new, and because it looked incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. What made you start that? What made you do that? Obviously, a fan of football.
Yes.
Yeah.
I grew up in South America, so
Yeah.
that's the one thing you do.
Yeah.
I grew up playing every single day, so it's my life. When in 2014 the team was announced, yes, David Beckham was there, like the mayor was there, but by that time I've lived in Miami long enough to know that I was like, okay, what type of scam is this? I was like, okay.
You're untrustworthy.
Yeah. I've been in Miami for a while. So I was like, okay, let's see how this plays out. It was announced. the whole thing about like we're gonna pay for it. The citizens are not gonna pay for these things because we were just coming off the Marlins, which was a huge,
Derek Jeter,
huge disaster.
scumbag.
And they built a stadium, and like we all paid for that stadium.
Yeah, and that art, that beautiful dolphin
Fucking
thing in the outfield. Yeah, beautiful.
That's what hurts the most. I'm like, we paid for that crap.
It's kind of iconic though.
Yeah.
You're still bummed about
It's
it.
kind of like a bad mascot now. It's kind of like, it's our thing.
Yeah.
So grew up with that, and I knew like deep inside, I was like, okay, this is not gonna be as great as we all think. To prove the point, like we launched in 2014, and Atlanta United, all these other teams came like 5 years after, and they won a championship before the teams was set up. So it's kind of like I was proven right. So we all kind of had that idea of like, okay, what's gonna happen here? And again, like 2016, 17 came up, and nothing was announced.
Really?
Dead silence. Nobody was talking about it. Like, oh yeah, the team. And then at that point was like, oh, Messi's coming and Ronaldo's coming and Neymar's coming. All these big names. They were just selling a machine, right? Like this entertainment circus kind of thing for Miami. But nothing was done. So at that time, I was working at agencies, and a lot of the work I was doing during the day was pharmaceutical, hotels, very corporate.
Yeah.
So I needed an outlet, and then this came up. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take on this project. I'm going to build it, and I'm going to treat it as real work. I'm going to treat it like I'm going to brief myself. I'm going to treat it and give myself some time. I give myself a month. I said, this has to be completed in a month.
Wow.
So it has to be created and treated as a client project. So I did the whole thing. My goal was to create not just the kit, but the identity, the naming, the thinking behind it, the potential naming for the stadium, all these different things that I would do at an agency for clients. So for a month, that was the goal. And a lot of people thought I was crazy, especially my wife. She was like, why are you up at 2 a.m. working on something that, for why?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I have to get it out of my system. I have to get it done. And also the funny thing was that at that point, kit design or like team design was not a thing. Like you go on Behance and you'll probably find maybe one that you could find like, oh, that's kind of cool, but nobody else was doing it. Now everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's creating kits and jerseys and all that.
Yeah, TikTok. Yeah,
yes, like you can Behance and it's plethora of stuff. So at that point I was okay, nobody's doing it as much as I would love to see this be a thing. And I took on that project. I spent a month working on it, and again, it went through that. I had to pull from my personal experience with the sport, my experience with Miami, and sort of what I wanted. And one of the things I wanted was to get away from the typical Miami cliche, right? I was like, I'm not gonna do pink. Sorry, I'm not gonna do like neon colors and all that stuff because I grew up on
Miami
that.
Vice,
And I honestly I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like it. And to that. Also, I'll stand corrected because I say Miami people don't want that. And then the Miami Heat came up, and I was like, okay, never mind. Like, what the fuck do I know? So it was a bit of that. So my goal was to elevate a little bit more, give a different take, my point of view to the team, and I built that. So after a month, I put it on my blog. Again, how old we are, like there were blogs back then. Put it on the blog and
Diego.blogspot.com.
It was the blog. Go ahead. Yeah, it was the blog.
The blog.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, it was THEE blog.
Okay,
and then for a while, people just knew me as that. Right. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So the blog did well because, How Magazine picked it up. I was like, oh, you're going to be a writer for us. So I got into that. So I was feeling comfortable.
So you had a community, a little bit of
Yes.
readers.
Okay. At that point, I was just doing daily posts. I would get to the office or like an hour before my shift started, and I would just dedicate an hour just to write.
Cool.
If there was anything that I liked, I would just save it and come back and just or like go to my bookmarks, pull it up, and just be honest about it. And it helped me because it helped me create that confidence that you need as a designer. It gave me the confidence to tell stories and sort of like give my point of view, whether you like it or not. You were getting my point of view, and the 10 people that were reading, seemed to like it. So I put the project online, and it just blew up. People the comments started like crashing, like the website crashed.
Wow.
That's when I knew. I was like, okay, wait, what's going on here? So the thing crashed. I had to call I think GoDaddy was at the time. I was like, oh no, WordPress.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, it crashed. So before you know it, it started showing up on like Complex and like freaking football magazines in Spain and
Yeah.
stuff. And people were just like, oh, this guy just did the stuff for Beckham. I was like, no. I
Yeah,
did not.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is not. This is a personal project. The news, like I did like news interviews, and people were like, oh, is this what's coming to Miami? I was like, no, it's not. It's just my version of it. But then again, and Armin posted it on Brand New. And to
Yeah.
go back to your question, that's when I first got my fair share of comments, real comments.
Yeah.
Mostly were positive,
Yeah.
and then the negatives, you just take them. And
Well, I think it shows just how good of a job you did with it, that people thought it was real.
thank you. Yeah,
And I think another thing that happens a lot today, but I don't really remember happening quite as much at the time, was sort of the way that you broke down the Shield inspiration. You kind of showed sort of the pieces, of
Yeah.
the sky and the ocean and football, and
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
how all these things come together. And now sports branding, we talk
Yeah.
about a lot on the show. You got to have the hidden mountains and
yes,
the hidden sort
the
of
grid, the grid.
yeah. It's all like trying to fit like hundreds of
Yeah,
little
yeah.
Easter eggs inside of these logos. But I think the work that you did obviously just was at a level that it could have been the real identity.
Thank you.
And I think that
It's a huge
and
compliment.
not just the real identity, but like a real good identity.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I think that's why it went viral, and I think ultimately why it garnered so much
Yeah.
attention. Right?
Yeah.
What did that feel like at that time?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great, but I'm kind of a masochist. It was great, but then I was like, okay, this worked.
Yeah.
What's next?
Got it.
What's the next one?
I like how you said you had to get it out of your system.
Yes.
I relate to that because
Yes.
sometimes as a designer, it's not just about doing work for clients. Sometimes you have an idea for something, or
Yeah.
you have a vision for something, and you're just like, I gotta put this down,
Yeah.
and I gotta make it.
Yeah.
And it's not really necessarily for others.
Yeah. It was for me.
Yeah, it was for you.
It was for me.
And then all of a sudden, it's for the world. And I think it's a really beautiful system. How did it feel when then the real identity launched, and it did have pink, and also it had Inter Miami as the name of the club? Because didn't you?
You're not gonna make me into this one. No.
Because you named it. It
Yeah.
didn't have a name, right?
Like 4 years before it launched. Yeah, it didn't have a name.
And so you named it Inter Miami FC, and then the real club launches Inter Miami FC. Does David Beckham owe you a giant check? Look at this camera, this camera, this camera,
Yeah.
and just let David know who to make the check out to.
Yeah, my LLC. So it was a passion project, true
Yeah.
passion project. Like I put it all out there. I told my story about like playing, about like my relationship with Miami, and sort of like what it felt to like compete against giants and all that. So it was a very honest story. So I think people related to that, and that's again part of the storytelling of the project that I think connected with people. It wasn't just like, here's the shield, here's the kid, put it out there and start shopping it around. No, it was like a story.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the name, it was a bit of that work. I was like, I'm living in Miami. I
Mhm.
know this place. I know how international this is. And like Inter Miami, I was like, it took a bit to get to that point, but I was like, that's the one thing that like all of us can relate and agree on.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter what language you put it in, like it works. So I was like,
Sure.
that's it. There's naming, there's all this happening. A lot of people thought that I would meet David Beckham out of this thing. I never did.
So you never met David Beckham?
No, never met him.
Okay.
I mean, I'm still
You know,
open.
so- yeah, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
David, call me.
Yeah. He's a big listener to the show.
Yeah.
So we'll just
so
send this directly
we did
to him.
that. And then the new identity came out. It was a bit of like
Doubleday and Cartwright, I believe.
Doubleday and Cartwright, yes.
Who does great branding and actually just
fucking
did
amazing
just did the one for the Utah Mammoth, the one we're
Yes,
talking about,
yes.
which we think is great. They do, in my opinion, the
Killer
best
work.
sports branding
Beautiful.
identity in
Yeah.
the world. I think they did a nice job with the Miami Football Club. I think the pink is to your point is a Miami cliche, but I don't think they led with pink and not the combination. It's
Yeah.
not quite so Miami Vice.
Yeah.
It sort of leans into the pink and
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
flamingo, and
Yeah.
it is a nice job, and I think it obviously has galvanized Miami around this.
Yeah.
It's become a fashion symbol, and so again, it all worked out for you because ultimately it led you to a job at Nike.
Well,
Or no?
it led me to another job.
Okay.
Right after that. So a lot of people thought I would meet David and become best friends.
A lot of people.
But what, and this is where it kind of like came full circle, because my wife was questioning, like, are you sane? Why are you putting all this time into this? A lot of people were like, why are you working on this stuff when you can go out? but I never knew. Again, it was personal. But then one day, after like Complex and all these people had the logo out there, I got a call from an agent or a manager.
Really?
And he calls me and he says, "Look, I have a client that saw your work. He's very interested. He's launching a project. Would you like to talk to him? Would you be open to have a conversation?" I was like, "Of course, yes." He's like, "Okay, cool. Now I can tell you. His name is Carmelo Anthony.
Whoa.
He plays for the New York Knicks." I was like, "Dude, I know who Carmelo Anthony is." So he brings him up and he's like, "Look, Carmelo is buying a soccer team in Puerto Rico because he has roots in Puerto Rico.
That's
so
right.
he's always been connected to the island. So he saw the work and he wants you to build it.
Wow.
Caveat, it's between you and an agency. So he needs to decide between the two. So you need to submit your proposal, you need to submit ideas, and he'll decide." So at that point, I was like, yeah, amazing, right? Like you fucking like this turned into something that can actually become a thing now. Excited for that, but what got me more excited was now I get to compete with an agency, right? Like, fuck yeah. If I beat them, that's already like a big thing for me. So it came about that. And again, it was a kind of like I forgot how long it was. It was a very quick project. It was like probably 3 months
Okay.
from beginning to end. And had to like do a lot of Zoom calls with Carmelo, which at that point we didn't even have Zoom. I forgot what it was, but it was some crappy ass like internet connection thing or FaceTime. So I got to meet him, talk to him, kind of like pick his brain and what he wanted to go, guide him a little bit too, because again, when you're working with clients and when you work with an athlete that's already has played in sports his entire life, he knows the importance of a badge. He knows the importance of like that symbol. But at the same time, they come with biases of like, oh, it has to have this and this and this and this. So we did that project together. He trusted me to the point that he was like, "No, you write the copy." So I was writing copy for it. I was doing everything that I did for Miami, just transfer it here. And then as I was presenting options, he was like, no, go back to the Miami style. Like it needs to look like that. I really like that. So that's why there's a bit of similarities from like the fake one to the real one. But it was great. It kind of like gave me the confidence to say, you know what, I can do this. I can compete with people out there because I never pitched or like or anything like that. And it worked out. So then that happened, and then after that, CBS Sports called and they were like, "Oh, we saw what you did. So would you be able to like help us with like art directing or like on air graphics for shows?" It's like, of course I can do that. You know, that's why I'm working my 9 to 5. So I can do all this. And it snowballed into me becoming like a sports guy in the design world. So everybody kind of kept coming to me. It was like, well, ESPN called, CBS Sports, Carmelo. So before you know it, I didn't realize it. I was not paying attention to that because I was just busy working, but I had become a sports designer.
Well, you had created sort of a portfolio and sort of
without knowing.
Yeah. And I think it's such an important story, and I'm so glad that you're here to tell it, because I think personal projects are a thing that we grew up with, and I think that are something that I don't know is necessarily still quite as part of the conversation today. But because I think there's a feeling that it's like, well, why would I do something if I'm not getting paid for it? Or why am I going to spend this time? Why am I going to waste this? Why, like, what's the point?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think for all designers out there, and to get serious for a second, like, that personal project changed your life.
Absolutely.
And you said you were working in agencies, working on pharmaceutical things, and there was like, I don't want to be doing this type of work. I love design, but I want to do more. Yeah. And you take on a project, you'd spend 1 month, which at the time probably felt like a ton of time, but in the grand scheme of your life is nothing.
Yeah.
And you dedicate something, you give yourself a brief, give yourself an opportunity, give yourself something. And from that moment on, everything snowballs, and you totally change the trajectory of your life. Yeah. And your work is now in the space that you love, in working on projects that are with Carmelo Anthony or ESPN or other projects that are in the world of sport, in bringing your two things that you love together. Yep. And like, that's so important. And that project, it didn't pay you any money and you didn't get to meet David Beckham, but the dividends are, again, just so clear in that it paved the way to this new career within this career that you already had. Mm-hmm. And that's possible for every designer out there to brief themselves and to give themselves an opportunity, especially for younger designers, like students and people that are like, maybe you have a portfolio and they're like, I don't really love the type of stuff I'm doing or the type of work I'm getting. Like, brief yourself. Take a project on that's, for something that you would dream to do.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
It did change my life.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, then you're the guy that's doing sports, and it kind of happens, in a way that it does, though, because I think you get the projects that you have in your book, right?
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
you become famous for the work that's in there, and people will then hire you for those type of things. And
Yeah.
like Carmelo, you said with Carmelo, it's like he wanted it to look in the style of the thing that you had
Yeah.
done, and
Yeah.
but then it leads to other things, and then I guess at this point you have a portfolio now of design that's at the intersection of sports and creativity.
Yep.
When does Nike call?
2015.
Okay, so only a couple of years.
Yeah,
or
it was only a
year
couple
or
of years.
two after.
I was busy again. I was jumping from job to job, and that sounds bad right now, but I was learning.
Mhm.
I was working at an advertising agency when I felt like I was already like, okay, cool, I did my time here. I wanted to learn more because there was a big boom with like apps and digital and like all multimedia. So I went to work with some friends at an agency that did that. And I was building apps, learning UI, learning UX, getting into that, how does an app work and all that, which eventually helps you. From that, I went to another studio, which was more into branding. So I was like, I want to do that again. And then eventually I went in-house.
Yeah.
Which my whole career was like, I never want to work in-house. So I went in-house to this luxury brand company. It was called Luxury Brand Partners, and they managed a lot of like luxury products. So I got to learn about product, the merchandising, and all that. So we had like about 5 or 6 brands, and we will incubate new brands. It was kind of like it was an umbrella company. And then I was working in-house, and then I fell in love with it because again, like it gives you the stability, gives you the ability to continue to do what you love to do. At that point, I was like throwing events, and I was like, okay, cool, I can do design stuff. And now I want to get into like build events. I want to like take Art Basel's coming to me.
Wow.
Fucking, I want to do some stuff for Art Basel. So I was doing a lot of that at that point. And then 2015, December, I get a call from, again, a random, it was an email. I always say a call because it just sounds prettier when you say a call.
Yeah. You get a call. And
I get an email.
Yeah.
I get an email.
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And it's like Phil Knight. Maybe Phil Knight.
Yeah. No. The funny thing was, it doesn't say Portland, it says Beaverton, right? Like,
Okay.
the email comes
Yeah.
in. And it's a recruiter. And he goes, listen, we've been following your work for a while. I know that you've been working in sports. We love what you're doing. Would you be interested in working for Nike? And I was like, yes.
You're like, let me think about this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in.
Again, I grew up playing soccer, so I grew up with the brand. I'm not saying this because I work at Nike right now, but like my connection to the brand goes way back.
Oh my God.
I
I mean,
played
it's the best.
soccer with the brand. Yeah, I mean, I played with the brand. From a sports side, I grew up with the brand. Like my favorite players were Nike players. When I got into the design world, every project, every inspiration was always Nike.
Yeah.
And whether it was coming from me or from clients, it was like, look what they're doing. How do we do that? So it was part of my life. I never thought about working at Nike. Never applied. Never even knew how to apply. I was like, like never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
So when that email came through, I was like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that means that you need to move to Beaverton. I was like, where's Beaverton? Where's Beaverton? Because for context, when you live in Miami, you don't go to Beaverton on vacation. You know what I mean?
It's on your cultural excursion.
So I had to like look it up. I was like, oh, Beaverton, Portland. Okay, that's what her headquarters are. I said, yeah, when can you come in? I'm like, you tell me.
Yeah.
So it was pretty quick. I was happy at my job. I was really happy. I was growing. I was like leading all of the design for that. And then I was like, yeah, whenever you need me to go. So they flew me up. Had my interview. They brought me in for like 3 days or something like that. So I got to meet some people. I did my interview, and then I went back. But that was like at the end of December, like kind of mid-December. So for the rest of the month, I never heard back from anyone. I was like, oh man, I blew it. And I was so confident. I really prepared for that. I was so confident. But then like in reality, it was holidays. So like, no, I was not thinking about that. People were like, dude, everybody's traveling for Christmas. So I didn't hear back. And then January, they called me and they were like, when would you be able to start? I was like, you tell me. But the one
tomorrow
of the
too
things,
soon?
Yeah. So then they were like, well, we'll need you to come March to start in April. I said, yeah, I'll do it. So then they flew me and my family because they brought my family, and they said, we'll spend a week here, get to know the city, get to know like the areas, find a place, all that. Brought my wife and kids at that time. We spent a week here. We really liked the place. We're like, all right, this is the change that we need because again, Miami's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. And then that was it. Like I never told my job that was happening until I had to put in my 2-week notice. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, guys, I have to do this. Like,
Yeah.
and the beauty of it was like nobody was like, why? Everyone was like, no, dude, go. So it was really good, and it was from December to March.
Yeah.
It was quick.
No, it's a beautiful story, and again, like I think it speaks to your passion for design, and I can really relate to that sort of feeling of like interviewing for a brand that you love and the passion, and you get that email, and like to them it's just an email, they're just reaching out, obviously, but to you, you're like, that those weeks between the sort of first interaction to the second one, you're just like every day you wake up thinking like, is this happening? Is this not happening? But it's obviously a dream job for every designer out there, and especially again, the path that you went to get there, and it's an incredible it's the power of what passion and just hard work and love of the game,
pretty much.
And I think so it's been 9 years. I don't
9
think
years.
we have enough time to get into all the stuff that you
9
do,
years,
but
man.
I know you've done running. I know you've done some soccer stuff, like just kind of I guess what's it been like?
It's a journey.
Yeah.
It feels like a lifetime. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
It's everything you can imagine.
Yeah.
But again, when I came to the interview, it was different. It was a new world for me. It was really getting out of my comfort zone, because I got to the interview and I was like, okay, cool. So what am I interviewing for? Right? Because they called me in for this job. And it was product. It was to connect to product. And I had to be honest in the interview. I said, I've never done product before.
Yeah.
Like I've done promo tees for a brand, but that's it.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, that's right. Like, that's fine. Like, we know that. So I was like, okay, as long as you know, and this doesn't come up later, we're good. So they were like, yeah, we want that. And the recruiter was amazing. The 2 recruiters that I was working with, I'm still friends with them. I still connected with them because, again, it's part of our journey, like you got me here.
Yeah.
But again, I got into my first job and Nike was training. So I was leading all of like doing graphics and branding for brand training, which is called training. Then I moved on to running. And then I move on to running and training. It's kind of one of those things like, great job, here's more work.
Yeah.
So then I was leading running and training, and I fell in love with running at the time. I was never a runner. I played soccer, but I was more of like you run, I'll pass you the ball, I'll get it to you, and just run.
Yeah.
And I got into it, and I truly fell in love because of the cultural connection that you get from running. And like at that point, I was meeting a lot of run clubs and all that. And run crews, sorry. So it really brought me into this new world that I was like, oh, this is fascinating. Like people truly connect at a sport level and the friendship and community. But at the same time, they look good because there's designers in those crews that are like creating the merch, creating the products. I was like, this is amazing. So I took learnings from that, and I became friends with a lot of like run crew leaders that I was like just having calls, like 1 hour call, just picking their brains. Like, how do you build this? How do you connect through sport? How do you make things beautiful but still meaningful? And he helped me a lot. I always try to learn from whoever I speak to. I'm always learning and trying to like see what I can bring into my world and to support others. And so I did running for a while. And again, it was a lot of collaborations and the marathons. We've talked about this, like we did the big marathons. And it was bringing something new that not a lot of people were doing out there.
Yeah.
We were not the sponsor of a lot of marathons, which gave us a little bit of like leeway to come in and disrupt. So that's when I, started working on like, how do we build more community level design? How do we connect more to the cities? And we built from that. And then my next job after that was leading product creation that ended up being track and field uniforms for Paris 2024. So again, something very new.
Yeah.
Again, had to have the conversation, like, just so you know, I've never done product creation. But then again, it was a bit of like, you earn that trust, the people see the passion. And it's not about like the stitching or what you can do with it. It's about more like bringing the team together, leading the team, reading the vision, coming up with something that's meaningful, and then having a North Star and just going after that. So we did that worked with an amazing team. Every team that I've worked at Nike is amazing. So we worked on that product, made it to the Olympics, which again, being a sports guy, working at a sports company, to me, that was like, that's it. You
Yeah.
know, like it's beautiful that you get to see, not because of what he means, because like, oh, the work made it to the Olympics, but because when you see the athletes win their medals, when you see them crying, when you see them with their families, and you're like, shit, we work for that. You know, like that's what we built. Yeah, that's what, at least that's what I build. You know, like I want to create that emotion. I want to be part of that journey with them. So we did that, and then we've moved on to what we called advanced concepts. So we did a bit of like creative direction again, and what I'm doing right now is a bit more of like the full circle, coming
Yeah.
back to creative direction, coming back with like strategy thinking, and just building big ideas from end to end that are, you know, serve as the blueprint for what we can do and how we can build for the future.
It's beautiful. And what's it like now to be sort of a leader and to have teams and sort of, kind of going from that
Yeah.
sort of, new guy,
Yeah.
at Beaverton, sort of
Yeah,
fish
yeah.
out of water to, now helping the next generation.
It's a beautiful thing. If you know me, you know I'm all about that.
Yeah.
I'm all about like we all move together, you know. It's different in a sense that you don't get to design as much as you want. I'm a very hands-on guy, so I'll try to like jump in and help. But it's more about like I, you know, the saying is like their success is your success.
Yeah.
Like that's how you're truly measured now. If the team is doing well, if the team does well, good work, and the team is happy, that's what matters to me. And the leadership aspect of it, it's a bit of like, yeah, this is how the matrix works. It's a huge organization, so yes, you do have to learn it. But it's more about like, you just have to be a nice person. Just be a good human. Be a nice person. Be respectful to others. Just do your shit and just go from there. You know.
What you just said is the most important thing that any designer can learn, which is you just got to be a good person.
Yeah.
You got to care, and you got to help other people, and you got to love the game, and everything else will fall into place if that's your approach. And your credit, that is your proof of that approach. And it's, for the young designers out there that work for you and the ones that, sort of, again, just follow your work. Like, I think that's such an important message for everyone out there. And look what it's created for you and your family and for everyone.
Yeah.
It's you're a perfect spokesperson for everything that I believe is important about design.
No, thank you. And yes, I always say this when I have mentor conversations or one-on-ones, and even here, like if there's one thing that you take out of this is like, just be a nice person.
Yeah.
You know, it's like projects will come and go.
Yeah.
Work is work. But if you can look around the team and have a good relationship and see everybody happy and enjoying what they do, because we love what we do, if you do that, everything else just trickles down from there.
And that's what every successful designer that I've ever met has in common. They're good people.
At least try.
And they love
I was trying.
and they love what they do.
Yeah.
And they like to help other people. I think that's really, truly important. Before we get you out of here, brand new conference. Obviously, for you went to the first one.
Yes.
And it sounds like you were there quite often. Every year. And to go from the crowd to doing your own talk in Chicago, how did that feel? As a pretty full circle moment there.
Oh yeah, it was completely surreal. Growing up as a designer with brand new and those blogs, that was your guide, right? I was like, all right, cool. This guy's got his shit together. Like, Armin is like, oh my God, this guy, he inspired me to write blogs. And I always give him credit for that because he truly inspired me. But yeah, I went to the first one and I was like, all right, this is it. Like, this is my school now. Like, I went to school, but I was like, this is my school. Because I learned so much. I learned from like speakers that were up there, like your Michael Veru, your Paula Scher, your like Draplin. Everyone had a different approach to connecting with the crowd and selling their work. That I was just taking notes on that. I was like, oh, okay, cool. You could be yourself, right? You could be funny. You could be honest about the work and personal. It doesn't have to be corporate. So I learned a lot from that. But then I also met a lot of people, and that's kind of like what my world's about. Like just meeting people, creating networks, creating communities, and just helping each other. So I went to that one, and then every job that I went to, I was like, just so you know, this is the one thing I need to go to. Like September, October, I need to be here because that is part of my development. So, luckily every job that I had to would send me there, or I would pay for myself and just go. And I think I went for the first like 6 or 8, I think.
Yeah.
I was just going religiously. And then that's where I met like David Millman. I met people like that. And I like, you know, to have David Millman kind of like take you under her wing in a way to like give you advice and like, no, come sit with me and just chat, you know, like, and then introduce you to other people like Mateo and all these guys. My world went from like a tiny little studio to like, now I'm sitting in the table with like heavy hitters, right? Like my idols are sitting here and telling me like Michael Verhoeven and all these guys. So I got to meet a lot of people because of that connections and just being nice to people, just being humble and being like, I just want to learn from you. Like, so I did all that. And then one day, well, before Brand New, I did first round.
Okay.
So Armin and Brianni went to Portland. They did first round and they were like, you know what would be great if you talk about the Puerto Rico project. So I did Puerto Rico thing. I think I did well because they were like, we went to dinner after that and you could tell, I could tell Armin was like, you know, you could be great for Brand New. So the wheels were turning and I was like, hey, Armin, just so you know, anytime. Like, I'm here. So we did that. And then I got the call one day, the email was like, hey, we're going to Chicago. Would you like to come? And I was like, yeah, of course. And like, no. Would you like to come speak? And that was a big moment for me. That was a huge thing for me because again, that's what helped me grow up as a designer. That's what inspired me and like shaped me from a design and branding point of view. So to be able to go back to that was incredible, but also huge pressure.
Yeah,
because I was like, now I'm speaking to like those designers from the comment section. So I was like, okay, either they're gonna really like me or like understand who I am, or I'm really gonna bomb and they're gonna hate me. So it was incredible. Like they were amazing, you know. Brandon and Armin are amazing hosts. So I came in, did my thing, and again, it was about that. It was about being a good human, helping people, building community. My whole thing was about community and like how community makes you a better designer, makes you a better human, makes you a better project leader. We did that and it was amazing.
And it's a great talk and everyone out there should go watch it. And thank you so much for being a part of our community here at the Front and Center podcast. To the millions of listeners out there, thank you.
Thank you.
And Diego, thank you for all of your lessons here today, but just for being yourself and for being, sort of a good guy and for telling your stories here on the podcast. It's been really fun, and I'm glad to call you a friend now. And enjoy New York City. This beautiful day here ahead of you. The streets are.
I come from Portland. This is great. We're good.
This is a very Portland day. Thank you, man.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me again. This is amazing. Thank you, and continue doing this.
Thank you.